Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to give you that essential shortcut, helping you stay well informed without getting lost in the details.
That's right.
Today, our mission is very specific. We're diving into the day's important news, pulling out exactly what you need for your UPSC Civil Services exam preparation.
And our sources for this deep dive are the Hindu newspaper and the excellent Learner's IAS study materials for UPSC CSE.
We're basically looking at important news, which is relevant for UPSC CSE preparation.
It's always striking how the day's news threads through so many core UPSC themes. We'll explore those connections, really get under the surface, so you understand the why behind the what.
Okay, let's jump right in. First up, we're discussing news related to simultaneous elections. You know, the whole one nation, one election idea, it keeps coming up.
And recently, we saw former Chief Justices D.Y. Chandrachud and J.S. Kahar raising some pretty significant flags about the proposed Constitution, 129th Amendment Bill 2024.
Their main worry seems to be the lack of a strong oversight clause. What does that mean exactly?
Well, basically, there isn't a clear, independent way to check the Election Commission's increased powers if this bill goes through. Take Section 82A5, for instance. It could let the EC recommend postponing a state election if they decide simultaneous polls aren't possible. That's a lot of power.
It really is. And Justice Kehar pointed out, quite rightly, I think, that Parliament or the Union Council of Ministers should definitely have a say in decisions like that.
Makes sense.
They also found another sort of loophole, didn't they, about early dissolution.
Yes, the bit about holding elections only for the remaining period. If an assembly dissolves early and there are only, say, a few months left in the term, holding an election just for that short time, it kind of defeats the whole purpose of reducing election frequency.
Right, you end up with mini elections anyway. This whole discussion is obviously vital for UPSC prep. We're talking Indian polity and governance for prelims, and definitely GS Paper 2 for Maine's constitutional amendments, the EC, federalism, it's all in there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just to recap for prelims, simultaneous elections means holding Lok Sabha and all state assembly elections together. The stated goals: reduce costs, avoid constant model code of conduct disruptions, let governments govern.
But that immediately brings up the basic structure doctrine, doesn't it, from the 1973 Kesavananda Bharati case.
Exactly. Parliament can amend the Constitution, sure, Article 368 says so, but it cannot mess with the fundamental principles: democracy, federalism, secularism, judicial review, those core ideas.
And central to this is the Election Commission of India, ECI. It's a constitutional body, Article 324, meant to be independent, running free and fair elections.
Right. Now, for Maine's, the big debate is the impact on federalism. Could one nation, one election end up overshadowing state-specific issues with national ones? Could it weaken regional parties, affect that federal balance? That's a major concern.
It is. And while the pros, cost savings, administrative stability, maybe even higher voter turnout sound good,
The cons are serious. Beyond federalism, there are huge constitutional hurdles. You'd need multiple amendments. Logistically, imagine deploying enough EVMs and security forces everywhere, all at once.
it's a massive undertaking. Plus, the worry about reduced government accountability between elections and what happens with hung assemblies. Lots of unanswered questions.
So for a balanced view in your answers, you need to weigh those efficiency benefits against the very real risks to federalism and democratic checks and balances. We need broad political agreement, strong oversight for the EC, and a legal structure that actually protects federal principles.
And the points raised by the former Chief Justices really need careful consideration here.
Definitely. Okay, shifting from domestic policy to the world stage. Next, we are looking at news about U.S. sanctions on a UN official. This has sent some tremors through the international system.
It really has. The U.S. put sanctions on Francesca Albanese. She's the UN Special Rapporteur for Human Rights in Palestine. The reason? Her criticism of Israel and, significantly, her cooperation with the International Criminal Court, the ICC.
And the UN itself called this a dangerous precedent, which is strong language.
It is. These sanctions could involve travel bans, asset freezes, and they seem directly tied to a report she wrote urging action against companies funding the conflict.
And it's important to note her work was endorsed by the UN Human Rights Council. So this U.S. move is seen by many as chipping away at the multilateral world order.
Interestingly, the recent BRICS summit, where India was present, also condemned actions against Israel. It hints at a wider concern about upholding international norms, doesn't it?
It does. This whole topic is key for international relations in prelims and GS Paper 2, in mains international institutions, global groupings, how policies of developed nations affect others.
Right. And for prelims, let's quickly clarify. A UN Special Rapporteur like Mrs. Albanese isn't UN staff. They're independent experts appointed by the UN Human Rights Council, UNHRC, which is the main UN body promoting human rights.
And don't confuse the courts. The International Criminal Court, ICC, prosecutes individuals for things like genocide. India isn't a member, by the way. The International Court of Justice, ICJ, is the UN's top court for disputes between states.
Got it. Now for mains, what's the impact on India?
Well, India consistently champions a rules-based multilateral order. So seeing a major power unilaterally target UN officials and institutions, that's worrying for India.
It puts India in a tricky spot, too, that diplomatic balancing act. We have strong ties with the U.S., strong ties with Israel, but also traditionally support the Palestinian cause.
Exactly. India's participation in that BRICS condemnation shows its interest in protecting multilateralism. But the broader implications for global governance are serious. Sanctions like these can undermine the UN's credibility, politicize human rights, and potentially weaken international law itself.
So the balanced view in India's stance.
It seems India needs to keep pushing against unilateral actions, advocating for dialogue. Using platforms like BRICS, ESCO, the UN, to champion that rules-based order is vital. And sticking to its commitment to international law, human rights, and pushing for things like ceasefires and humanitarian aid.
Okay, let's bring it back home now. Next, we are discussing about news related to the medium of instruction debate in India. This is a really fundamental debate about education and society.
It really goes deep. On one hand, you have education experts and the national education policy itself arguing for mother tongue instruction, especially in the primary years. The thinking is kids learn better, faster, feel more connected.
Makes sense intuitively, but then there's the reality on the ground. For a huge number of Indians, getting an English medium education is a massive aspiration. It's seen as a pathway.
And crucially, there was that 2014 Supreme Court ruling.
Right.
It basically said kids have the right to choose their medium of instruction. The government can't just impose one language.
Right. Because English proficiency often directly translates to better job prospects, especially in the global services sector that's so important for India.
And this is where it gets really layered with social justice issues. For subaltern caste groups, English education isn't just an option. It's seen as a powerful, necessary tool for upward mobility.
So if government schools don't offer good English medium options, it just widens the gap, right? Those who can afford it go to private English schools, leaving the disadvantaged behind.
Precisely. The true test of any education policy, you could argue, is how well it lifts up the most vulnerable sections of society. This topic hits Indian polity, fundamental rights, social issues, education, and government policies for prelims. For mains, it's central to GS Paper 1, Social Empowerment Diversity, and GS Paper 2, Education Governance. Could even be an essay topic.
And we should remember the historical context too, like the three-language policy from '68.
Yes, suggesting Hindi, English, and another modern Indian language in Hindi states, and regional language, English, Hindi, and non-Hindi states. And the NEP 2020 recommends mother tongue up to grade 5, preferably grade 8, but importantly, it doesn't mandate it.
So for Mayans, the broader context is key. This isn't just about pedagogy, it's tied to linguistic diversity, social hierarchy, economic hopes. It's about social justice. English equals opportunity in many minds.
Exactly. So, the debate. Pros of mother tongue, better learning, cultural preservation, maybe fewer dropouts. But the cons are significant too, that linguistic divide, potential barriers in higher education where English often dominates, missing out on global job opportunities.
And it clashes with the aspirations of many parents, especially from disadvantaged backgrounds.
Right. So a balanced view here would suggest that, look, while mother tongue benefits in early years are real, a one-size-fits-all policy probably doesn't work for India's diversity. You can't ignore people's
So
aspirations.
what's the way forward?
Maybe prioritize mother tongue in early primary, but also teach English as a high-quality subject right from class 1. And perhaps crucially, offer English medium as an option alongside mother tongue medium in all government schools. That addresses the equality concern.
Aiming for bilingual or trilingual skills rather than forcing one language.
Exactly. Equipping children, not limiting them.
Okay, moving on to another critical area. Next, we are discussing about news related to the Global Gender Gap Report 2025. This always provides a sobering look at where we stand.
Yes, the World Economic Forum's annual report. And the picture for India in the 2025 report is, frankly, quite concerning.
India's rank is 131st out of 148 countries. That points to a pretty substantial gender gap. Where are we falling short the most?
The report highlights economic participation and opportunity and health and survival as India's weakest areas.
Let's break that down. Health and survival.
India still has one of the lowest sex ratios of birth globally. That signals a persistent societal preference for boys. Women's healthy life expectancy is also lower than men's. And think about this. The National Family Health Survey 5 found 57% of Indian women aged 15-49 are anemic. That directly hits their ability to learn, to work.
And economic participation.
India ranks way down at 143rd.
Yeah.
Women earn on average less than a third of what men earn. And then there's the massive burden of unpaid care work. The Time Use survey showed Indian women spend about 7 times more hours on unpaid household work than men. That's a huge barrier to economic progress.
And the report suggests policy gaps too, like
Yeah.
not enough focus on care infrastructure.
Exactly. Things like affordable childcare, elder care facilities, these are often overlooked, yet they are critical for enabling women to participate in the workforce. And looking ahead, by 2050, India's elderly population is set to double. Women's economic participation isn't just fair, it's essential for our growth.
This is obviously huge for UPSC. Prelims. Reports and indices, women empowerment, health, demographics, mains. GS Paper 1, Role of Women, Social Empowerment. GS Paper 2, Health Welfare Schemes. GS Paper 3, Economy Inclusive Growth. And essays, definitely.
Right. Just to quickly recap the report itself for prelims, the Global Gender Gap Report is annual by the WEF. It measures gender gaps across 4 dimensions: economic participation and opportunity, educational attainment, health and survival, and political empowerment. Scoring is 0 to 1, where 1 is perfect parity.
So for mains, digging into the gender gap in the Indian context, what's the root cause?
Fundamentally, the report's findings reflect India's deeply rooted patriarchal social structures. There's often a lack of policy priority for women's health, nutrition, economic independence. That unpaid care work, It's not even counted in GDP, rendering massive contributions invisible.
And this directly impacts our demographic dividend potential.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We can't fully leverage it without much higher female labor force participation. Now, India has made progress. Educational attainment for girls has improved significantly. Reservations in Panchayati Raj helped grassroots political empowerment. Schemes like Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao are important signals.
But the challenges remain huge.
Very low female labor force participation rate, LFPR, that persistent gender wage gap, poor health indicators like high anemia rates, low sex ratio, not enough women in top decision-making roles, and the lack of investment in that care infrastructure we talked about.
So the balanced way forward.
Gender equality isn't optional. It's an economic and demographic necessity for India. We need effective gender budgeting, not just on paper. We need time-use surveys to actually value unpaid work. More funding for women's health and nutrition. Seriously integrating the care economy into development plans, maybe looking at models from places like Uruguay or South Korea.
And ultimately,
Real change requires women having a meaningful seat at the table involved in policymaking and implementation.
okay, let's shift gears to tech and defense. Next, we are discussing about news related to Astra. This sounds like a big achievement for India's defense capabilities.
It really is. The indigenous Astra missile developed by DRDO and the Indian Air Force was successfully tested. It's a BVRAM, a Beyond Visual Range Air-to-Air missile.
Beyond visual range, meaning?
Meaning it allows our fighter jets to engage enemy aircraft from very long distances, well beyond what the pilot can physically see. It gives a huge tactical advantage and keeps our pilots safer.
And what was special about this test?
The big news was the use of an indigenously manufactured radio frequency, RF seeker. The seeker is like the missile's eye. It finds the target and guides the missile. Making this critical component in India is a major step for Atmanirbhar Bharat, reducing reliance on foreign tech.
Where was it tested?
Launched from a Su-30 MKI fighter off the Odisha coast, and both launches hit their high-speed drone targets perfectly. This is prime material for science and technology, defense technology, in prelims. So key concepts for prelims: BVRAM, the seeker, especially the indigenous RF seeker, the Astra missile itself, India's first indigenous BVRAM, all-weather versatile, and maybe the integrated test range, ITR, in Chandipur, Odisha, where these tests happen.
Got it. Okay, moving from modern tech to ancient wisdom. Next, we are discussing about news related to the International Manuscript Heritage Conference and Gyan Bharatam mission. This sounds fascinating.
It really does. India is hosting its first ever International Manuscript Heritage Conference. 3 days themed Reclaiming India's Knowledge Legacy Through Manuscript Heritage.
And it's linked to a new mission.
Yes, it's part of the inauguration of the Gyan Bharatam mission. The conference is happening in Delhi, and the timing is significant too. It commemorates Swami Vivekananda's historic Chicago address on September 11th, 1893.
A landmark moment. This is straight up art and culture, Indian heritage manuscripts for prelims plus current events.
Definitely. And for prelims, remember what manuscripts are. Handwritten historical documents, palm leaves, birch bark, paper. They're primary sources for understanding ancient Indian philosophy, science, art, literature. Invaluable.
And the government has initiatives for this.
Yes, the National Mission for Manuscripts, NMM, started back in 2003 under the Ministry of Culture. Its job is to find, document, preserve, and digitize these manuscripts. This new Gyan Bharatam mission seems to be the next step.
Is there international recognition for Indian manuscripts?
Absolutely. Through the UNESCO Memory of the World program, which safeguards global documentary heritage, Indian Rigveda manuscripts and Shaiva Sasana texts, for example, are on that prestigious list. And of course, Swami Vivekananda's Chicago address itself is a key historical event to know.
Great context. Now, staying with heritage, but a more recent declaration. Next, we are discussing about news related to India's new UNESCO World Heritage Site. Always exciting news.
Absolutely fantastic news. The Maratha military landscapes have officially made it onto the UNESCO World Heritage List.
Landscapes, plural, so it's not just one fort.
Exactly. It's what UNESCO calls a serial nomination. It's a network of 12 forts together, recognized as one site due to their shared history and significance. The decision came during the 47th World Heritage Committee session in Paris.
Which forts are included?
It's a mix across Maharashtra, Saltar Fort, Shivneri, Lohgad, Khanderi, Raygad, Rajgad, Pratapgad, Suvarnadurg, Panhala, Vijaydurg, Sindhudurg, and importantly, Jinji Fort down in Tamil Nadu is also part of this nomination.
Wow. So this is key for prelims again. Art and culture, UNESCO sites, fort architecture, history, Maratha Empire, and current events.
Definitely. Quick prelims refreshers. UNESCO World Heritage Sites have outstanding universal value protected by international treaty. They can be cultural, natural, or cunning. Mix the Maratha forts are cultural. Serial nomination is when multiple related components form one site.
And the World Heritage Committee, WHC, is the body that decides what gets on the list.
Right. And the significance of these Maratha forts. They are incredible examples of Maratha military strategy and architecture. Built in diverse terrains, hills like Raygad, islands like Sindhudurg, coastal forts like Vijaydurg, they show amazing strategic thinking, often blending right into the landscape for defense.
Truly remarkable. Okay, for our final topic, let's look at the future of industry. We are discussing about news related to artificial intelligence, AI, in India's manufacturing sector. This feels like a major transformation underway.
It absolutely is. AI is fundamentally changing how manufacturing works in India. We're seeing things like predictive maintenance, using AI to figure out when a machine might break before it does.
Preventing costly downtime?
What else? AI vision systems for quality control, spotting defects humans might miss,
Yeah.
and collaborative robots, or cobots, designed to work safely alongside human workers, helping with tough or repetitive tasks.
And this isn't just experimental anymore, is it?
Not at all. The report says AI adoption in Indian manufacturing jumped from 8% to 22% in just 1 year. That's rapid growth. And the government's pushing it too with that big 10,372 crore AI mission.
Are there more advanced applications being used?
Yes. Things like generative AI to speed up product design, and digital twins creating virtual models of factories to test changes and optimize operations virtually first.
All powered by things like IoT sensors, edge computing, cloud platforms.
Exactly. It's an ecosystem. And it's not just about efficiency. AI is driving innovation, allowing for more customized products. But there are challenges, of course.
Like what?
High integration costs, definitely. A shortage of skilled workers who can manage these AI systems, a real talent gap. And, naturally, concerns about data security.
This area is critical for prelim science and technology. AI, IoT, robotics, digital twin, Indian economy, manufacturing, government policies, AI mission. And for mains, it's core to GS Paper 3, S&T applications, economy, industrial policy. Big essay potential, too.
For sure. Let's quickly define some of those prelims terms. Predictive maintenance uses sensor data to predict failures. A digital twin is that virtual replica for testing. IoT is the network of connected devices sharing data. Edge computing processes data locally for speed. And cobots are those human-friendly robots.
Okay, now for mains. AI in Indian manufacturing. How significant is this strategically?
Hugely significant. It's vital for achieving goals like Make in India and becoming a $5 trillion economy. It makes Indian firms more competitive globally. The government's AI mission provides that policy push. Even PSUs like Chennai Petroleum are adopting AI.
What are the clear pros benefits for India?
Increased productivity, lower costs through less waste and energy use, much better quality control via AI vision, improved global competitiveness, and enhanced worker safety by using robots for hazardous jobs.
And the cons challenges we need to address.
That talent shortage is a big one. The high investment needed, especially tough for MSMEs. Concerns about job displacement, which means we need serious reskilling efforts. Data security and privacy are paramount. And ethical issues, too, like AI hallucinations or lack of transparency in decision-making.
So the balanced view way forward.
AI is basically indispensable for manufacturing's future in India. To make the most of it, we need a major focus on skill development, probably through government-private partnerships. We need strong legal frameworks for data governance and responsible AI use.
And the human element.
Crucial. We need to see AI not as replacing humans, but as augmented intelligence tools enhancing human skills. That means training workers for these new roles. And definitely providing support, maybe subsidies or technical help, so MSMEs aren't left behind in this AI revolution.
That was a quick analysis of today's newspaper analysis, covering a lot of ground relevant for your UPSC preparation.
And for a more in-depth look, detailed analysis, and study materials, you can always join Learner's IAS. It's just RS 300 per month.
Definitely worth checking out.
Looking back at today's topics, elections, global affairs, education debates, gender gaps, technology leaps, heritage preservation, it really shows how interconnected everything is in India's journey. Understanding these threads is what being an informed citizen and a prepared aspirant is all about.
Well said. Keep connecting those dots. See you all tomorrow.